Today I will be talking about Apis mellifera mortality due to immunodeficiencies from their diet by Gabrielle Smith. Question: how is mortality affected by Apis mellifera's diet? What about their immunodeficiencies is playing a part? Immunodeficiency is a term used to describe the state in which the body has the ability to fight off infectious diseases. Diet plays a huge role in affecting the immune system and the successfulness in which it works. For this presentation, I will be covering how diet in Apis mellifera affects their immune system, as well as how it causes immunodeficiencies, if any at all. I will also cover the important part immunodeficiencies play a role in causing death in Apis mellifera, as well as other factors that play a role in the collapse of a colony and what leads to that. Apis mellifera's diet. Pollen and honey provide abundant nutrients to Apis mellifera. They supply them with carbohydrates, lipids, proteins, and water. There are also micronutrients in pollen and honey that provide vitamins and minerals which are needed to survive. Pollen is needed to increase body weight and longevity for Apis mellifera. Nestmates provide nutrient-rich jelly through trophallaxis exchange to queens, drones, and worker bees. There was a study that was run by a few researchers, and the data is not shocking. All worker bees were given a sucrose solution to begin. They were split up into groups, and groups 2 and 5 were given honey and pollen from a local place which already contains proteins and nutrients. Group 3 and 6 were given a paste that consisted of lactalbumin, which is essentially a substitute for protein. The results showed that the bees which were given the protein substitute showed lower body weight than that of the bees that received the natural pollen and honey. Many factors were taken into account in this study, but we will just be looking at longevity due to diet as well as body weight. So this graph shows the body weight as well as the treatment group. So at the bottom you see the letters which stand for the words that I will be saying on the side. This box plot shows the treatment group. NM is nestmates, AB is antibiotic, HP is supply with honey and pollen, LA is lactalbumin, CO is control. What's also shown is differences between the tests that were run. As you can see on the screen, the dots are the outliers. Worker bees that were given pollen and honey showed greater longevity than the other group that was given the substitute. The scattered dots are the pollen substitute, and the close dots are the actual pollen and honey. So as you can see from the chart called A, the dots that are spread apart, this is the one that they gave them the substitute for pollen and honey, which, as you may guess, isn't as natural as giving them actual pollen and honey, which was on the right, the B group. And you can see from that graph that all the dots are really close together, which shows longevity in the ones that were given the natural honey. Apis mellifera immunodeficiency. Honeybee brood in adults are likely to have a difference in how well their immune system defends against bacteria and different pathogens. Their resistance to diseases can be tested using a measure of immunocompetence. Immunocompetence is the ability of an organism to mount an immune response, either in cellular, humoral, or behavioral form. Due to larvae being in a comb cell, they lack the capability to avoid pathogens and parasites, as would adults. Their behavior mechanisms aren't mature enough for them to behave in the way that might otherwise protect themselves against diseases. So what this means is that their immune system obviously isn't as built up at a young age when they are a larva in the comb cell, and so they don't really have the type of capability that it takes in order to survive as would an adult. The next study found looked at sublethal effects of agrochemical pesticides on Apis mellifera. Due to that part of the study not relating to my topic at hand, I will be looking at the evidence found for royal jelly and the importance that it has on immune functions. Imidacloprid is a systematic insecticide, that acts as an insect neurotoxin and belongs to a class of chemicals called neonicotinoids, which act on the central nervous system of insects. Imidacloprid exposure negatively impacts Apis mellifera by shutting down the secretion of royal jelly in the honeybee head, which in turn doesn't give enough nutrients and breaks down the immune system. According to Buttstead, MRGP, which stands for major royal jelly proteins, are involved in differential development of queen larvae and worker larvae, thus establishing division of labor in the bee colony. Due to the lack of royal jelly secretion among bees, it can lead to colony collapse. This figure shows how important of an impact royal jelly protein has on Apis mellifera and their survival. We see here that their lifespan increases when they are able to have royal jelly protein. As you can see, the control group has a less lifespan than the 20% royal jelly group. So as you can see on the left, there's the control group, which is at the very bottom, which shows a lower life expectancy than that of even the 10% royal jelly, which is just a little bit above it in the middle there. And then the 20% royal jelly, as you can see, is the highest, which shows that their lifespan is the most. And then at the bottom there, below that line, there is the percentage line, which shows the percentage in which they are going to survive. Apis mellifera mortality. The mortality of Apis mellifera seems to be due to mostly pesticides and diseases. Although my topic isn't over pesticides, that is what mainly causes the death of Apis mellifera that I have found. Pesticides affect reproduction and health, which then turns into poor diet, immune disorders, and even death. The picture on the next slide is going to show the effects of long-term pesticide exposure. As you can see here on the left, there's the treatment groups. There's 3 different ones. The top one is fungicide. The second one is insecticide. And the third one is both, which is all 4 pesticides. So as you can see on the right, that leads to increased pollen foraging, increased brood loss, and increased queen events. And this is due to long-term sublethal pesticide exposure in pollen. In conclusion, Apis mellifera need to have a healthy diet consisting of honeybee and pollen in order to maintain a good body weight. Having a healthy diet can keep a bee alive. Immune disorders are caused by pesticides and chemicals sprayed by individuals. Apis mellifera cannot reproduce if certain pesticides are in their system. It affects their diet and behavioral mechanisms needed to survive. There are many things that play a huge role in Apis mellifera's immunity to certain things. Mortality is directly linked to poor diet, but with the exception of chemicals being present, it isn't the only factor for death. Immunodeficiencies are often caused by pesticides, which in turn can be a result of mortality as well. Due to pesticides heavily impacting Apis mellifera by causing them not to be able to eat and have a good diet, can eventually break down their immune system and cause immunodeficiencies. This lack of ability to use their immune system to its full potential can be a cause for a broken down immunity to diseases and bacteria. This is my references page. This is my other references page. Thank you all for listening to my presentation. I hope you learned something about Apis mellifera and their immunodeficiencies from diet and mortality. Thank you.